Okay.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Whenever you're listening to this, good morning, afternoon, evening. This is Dan Goodwin with Our Connected Lives. And one of the missions of Our Connected Lives is to connect you with great people. And today I have the honor and privilege of having a conversation with Anthony Conklin. Welcome, Anthony.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So today, guys, we're going to talk, guys and gals, we're going to talk about self-promotion and a self-promotion strategy. And I'm bringing Anthony online for the benefit of our listeners and viewers today to talk about his ideas on self-promotion, because he made a very interesting post a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to talk about that momentarily. First, let me introduce Anthony. Anthony works for a hedge fund. He is in the corporate environment. He is also a motivational speaker, a coach, a mentor, and we are so excited to have him today. And Anthony, what else did I miss? What other projects do you have going on right now in your life?
Well, Dan, listen, thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate that. I'm all about helping people, inspiring people, empowering people to make small changes in their lives. So I work for a hedge fund. I am a motivational transformational speaker. I also MC. So I love to MC events. That's one thing I've been doing for more than 25 years, along with being 25 years in corporate America. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. So
right, and you're also a DJ, correct?
I'm also a DJ.
Yeah,
right?
that's how I first became across you. We were on a blab, and for some reason, I don't know how the subject got to it, but you jumped on the blab, you jumped in the hot seat, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy does DJ stuff. And you and I, we figured out, are approximately the same age.
About that, yeah.
We enjoy the same kinds of music, I know, from the old school stuff and some of the new stuff too. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So talk about your current business project, and I'm most intrigued by the same thing that I went through, transitioning out of corporate America into entrepreneurism. So tell us about your journey and how you got from where you are and where you are going here in the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, I guess the best way to start is to begin at the beginning, as Alice in Wonderland said, right? So let's begin at the beginning. So it was probably right out of high school that I kind of got this knack for computers and really getting involved in touching things and moving parts, and the whole idea of being able to reach out to people and connect with people. And high school gave me that platform to go into an internship program. So in the actually in the early 80s, I had a chance to work for IBM here in White Plains, New York, as an intern cooperative education program. And I got my first exposure to these very large computers with large air-conditioned rooms and big printers and big wheels of tape and the kind of stuff that doesn't exist anymore. So I'm clearly aging myself.
Right.
So my journey really started there, and it just started to grow into the technology space, right through the 80s, on through the late 80s, the beginning of the 90s. But along that journey, I sort of had a parallel track. I had my one foot in the computer and technology space, and my other foot got really more involved in the music entertainment space. I mean, I've been a big fan of kind of two totally different people. One is Tony Robbins, who's been a virtual mentor of mine for more than 35 years. And then Michael Jackson, who is somebody who I've always aspired to dance like. I mean, imagine this, this Italian guy, this 5'8" Italian guy, 200-something pounds, wants to dance like 105-pound Michael Jackson.
Right.
It was interesting because it was something I enjoyed. So what I decided to do in 1988 is I love the entertainment business so much. I decided to open up a company. So I incorporated a company called Ace Musical Entertainment back in 1988, and it began the journey of being another business venture in the full-time DJ MC entertainment space, but along with still being in the computer technology, which had evolved to a sales and business development role. So I kind of had all these things going on in these two tracks of my life, right? And I decided that I wanted to continue both because I enjoyed both. So the journey took a little bit of a turn, and I almost created like a third leg in my life. So a third lane in my life, as I would say. So I had my computer technology, sales, business development, my DJ and entertainment space. And then I had this burning desire to share things that I've learned along the way. So they say that your legacy is your biggest inheritance. And it's the biggest gift that you can give, not only to your family, but to your friends and people in your life. So I don't think I've understood that 20 years ago, but understanding it now, I think, again, your legacy is so critical for you. And legacy, meaning giving those learning lessons to your family and friends. I decided I wanted to get into the speaking space, but I was afraid to do it. I didn't think I was good enough. I had this idea in my mind. I just wasn't the right person. I didn't come from the right neighborhood. I'm a how you doing kind of Italian, New York speaking person. Who wants to speak? Who wants to listen to someone like me? So my journey evolved from that. And really what happened was, Dan, and I'm happy to share, is that I had sort of a revelation in my life in 2010. I went through a very nasty divorce from a woman I married to for 20 years. And we had 4 amazing children together. And I realized that, okay, at 40-something years old, I have to do something with my life because this is my chance. It's like my divorce shook me up. Like, wake up, Anthony. It's time to go do something. Right. So in 2010, 6.5 years ago, I really started to focus mostly on getting into the speaking space and getting into the high-end MC business space. And then it really kind of formed to where we are today, which is still the 2-track life, working in corporate America. I work for a large hedge fund where we buy the development rights for renewable energy. We build them on our balance sheet, and then we sell them as a profit. So think of like flipping houses.
Right.
We buy them at a wholesale, build it, and then we sell for a profit.
Cleaning them up and
clean them up, and then we sell them.
Yeah, got it. It's a good model.
Great business, great model. And then getting into the speaking space has been so exciting and so fulfilling for me because I'm learning something new every day about myself. Tony Robbins mentioned in the interview that I had with him several months ago, he said, you're always learning something new about yourself every single day. You're always discovering something about yourself every single day. And it's your responsibility, which gets into self-promotion. It's your responsibility to share that with people through your self-promotion process.
Right. And your dual track, starting so young and establishing your DJ business, you were an early entrepreneur, and now you're probably able to take the lessons you learned when you established your DJ space into your new company, which is your speaking and coaching, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Everybody has these aha moments in their life, and sometimes it's a one aha moment or it's many aha moments that lead up to, I'm going to make a decision to make a change in my life. When you think about the 2 tracks, I'm in a transitional phase. In my transition, I've made a very conscious decision to make it a transition and not make it a jump. And those are my reasons. Some people have to make the jump immediately. Some people have to make the transition. So I've transitioned or continue to transition from my corporate, my corporate gig, as I would say. I'm still using the DJ analogy. My corporate gig into this full-time speaking space, which has been exciting, challenging, I must admit, very exciting, never a dull moment. And also, again, what it does, it gives me an opportunity to discover more about myself and share more about myself through promoting myself so I can share that with others. Right.
And I guess the thing that I have discovered as I have gone through the same reinvention process is the market is brutal. They will tell you when you're doing well. They will tell you when you're doing not so well. But it's, I think, an advantage that we have in our lives and the things that I strive to disseminate for people coming up behind me is we now, you and I, being at the same kind of stage in life, age-wise, we have 20, 25 years of experience that helps us make better adjustments as we move forward. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that, but I would also note that, age and experience is really sort of you're looking into your filing cabinet of your life, as I would say. We're old school, so we'll use filing cabinet as an example.
Filing cabinet and Rolodex, right?
I can't even use the term library anymore. No one even knows what a library is. So if I look into my filing cabinet of my life, I can see over the 25 years, all the goods, the bads, the challenges that I've been through in my life. But it's truly a river, a deep brook of information that I can pull from to say, I remember when I had this experience, or, that was critical. How did I handle that? And then what you do is you reflect on what happened. And then you say to yourself, did that serve me? Is it something that I can become better based on that experience? So the 25 years is good. I wish we had the 25 years at 25, but unfortunately we can't go from 0 to 25. We can probably go from 25 on. So I am 52 years old, so I'm proud to share my age with people, let them know that you can reinvent yourself or rediscover yourself, or you can brand yourself or even promote yourself literally at any age. I mean, you know the great story of the Kentucky Fried Chicken founder, Colonel Sanders, didn't really discover himself till he was 65 years old.
Right.
When you think about Thomas Edison, and all the great stories, we can quote them till the cows come home. But for me, I'm a living, eating, breathing example of rediscovery. Dan, you're a living, eating, breathing example of you can rediscover yourself literally at any point in your life.
Right. So and this can be a transition question. This can be a personal business question.
Sure.
What's the greatest challenge you're having in your life right now? What's the greatest thing that if you can wave the magic wand that you would have something to overcome in the next 5 seconds?
I have so much that I want to do. I need clarity of a goal. Now let me explain that just briefly. So there's a vision and there's a goal, right? Vision. The only difference between a vision and a goal is a time factor, right? Goals get you to a certain point. Vision is something you're always growing towards. So I'm so focused on vision that I'm having challenges getting myself focused. I'll be ADD here. I'll admit it. Is being focused on a consistent strategy to get to the end game. And let me just couch that by saying it's not because I don't want to do it. It's just that I have so much in my head. I have to go where the moment is. It's just it's how I'm wired. I use the term rewire to your why. And my why is what I want to accomplish, but I have to rewire myself to execute on those 3 points, which is the strategy, the story, and your state. So
awesome.
That's the biggest challenge that I face right now.
Yeah. And listen, I'm right there with you. It's amazing. If they'd have had the ADD diagnosis when we were going through school, we probably would have been there, right?
They called us bad kids back then.
Well, they didn't call me bad. They called me Henri. They called me the instigator a lot, but sure. What's that about? So
it was, when you look back at it now, I think of the ADD as being, okay, well, it's a part of the process of growing and becoming. And who knows, when 20 years from now, they'll probably call it something else.
Yeah, who knows? So what are you most excited about? What's your greatest victory you've overcome in the last 30 days?
Well, I finally was able to refresh my website. So AnthonyJConklin.com is live. Yeah. We now have our Facebook live streams being connected to the website. So every time I do a Facebook Live, it is posted. We refreshed all the questions. I'm very happy that Vicky Fitch, as being my business coach, helped connect me with a great web designer. So the website is up and running. Again, I'm never satisfied, so I always want to change it.
Right.
But my biggest success was doing that. My other biggest success was confirming a speaking engagement that I'll be doing next year for my old high school. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah,
isn't that the greatest feeling? And because people, I've had people in my life. So I teach entrepreneurship at a master's level at a local university here, and I have all of those family friends that just shake their heads and wonder, really? You're teaching at master's level?
Yeah.
It's the greatest revenge of all. Anyway.
And you're teaching it because it's something that you have to offer. So yes. We talk just to kind of reflect on the idea of self-promotion. It's really your responsibility to demonstrate to people what you do know, why you know it, and why it's beneficial for me to promote myself to you, because I get to connect with you, and then you get to connect with other people through my self-promotion, because you're self-promoting yourself to other people. So really, it's a whole pay-it-forward mentality. I don't really say it that way, other than I'm saying off the top of my head right now, is that you have to pay it forward. And my way of paying it forward is promoting myself, not in a distasteful way, but in an exciting and sort of a super passionate way. Let people know this is what I've known, this is what I've done in 25 years of my life. For some people, it's going to resonate with. It's not going to resonate with everybody. I can't reach 7 billion people on the planet, but I'm going to reach as many people as I can. And I was reading an article about self-promotion before we signed on to this podcast, and I read a few different perspectives on self-promotion, but the one thread that goes through all of them is that it's really your responsibility to self-promote, because you don't want to be the smartest guy in the graveyard, as they say. You have to get your ideas and your experiences out, because it will benefit somebody.
Right. So we're gonna dive into that a few more. One more thing before we get into the topic of the day. So what motivates you? What makes you choose to want to jump out of bed in the morning?
Wow. My health. I'm a healthy 52-year-old man. I my blood pressure is great. My resting pulse is good. I hired a trainer to help me work out with me a couple times a week. Knowing that I can be an example for my children. And I'm going to get emotional for a second. My mom passed away 2 months ago, and it was a jolting moment for me because it reminded me how short life can be and how precious life can be. And my mom, for as much as I miss her so greatly, I know she's not in any more pain and any more suffering, but my mom always taught me that you need to really value every day of your life. And unfortunately, we don't realize that either I call it the 3 Ds in life. It's your death, dying, or divorce, right? The 3 Ds that you go through.
Right.
Usually people don't make changes in their lives until those things happen. Right? So the death could be a death of a spouse, a friend, a family. Dying, it could be somebody who's passing, or divorce. It could be divorce of your spouse, a divorce of a job. Those 3 aha moments, or those three, I call them the soul-shaking moments of your life. So I get up in the morning knowing that I always thank my Creator. Some people who are listening to this podcast may not be believers in God, but whatever you choose to believe in, some higher power, I believe that I'm here for a reason, and I have a purpose, and my purpose is to do what I do every single day.
I said big amen to that. The death, dying, divorce, two of the 3. My wife has put up with me for 30 years. So hopefully she'll renew the contract. We're renewing 1 year at a time now. So,
good for you.
Yeah. So, but I lost my mom when I was 18, and she was only 40. Which now, in reflection, I'm about 6 months behind you age-wise. In reflection, that gets younger and younger every day. And then this last week, we've had friends that lost their 25-year-old son in a car crash. So those things are just those things make you think about just like you said, make you think about why am I here on earth? What's my reason? What's my vision? What's my ministry? What is my message that we want to get out? So anyway, so let's dive into self-promotion. So last week you shared a post on Facebook, which just prompted me to reach out to you. And you and I had not had really a chance to sit and visit. We were on the periphery of each other's networks is how I describe it. So your post was, you have to promote yourself, or this is a paraphrase, you have to promote yourself every day so that the people that know, like, and trust you will stay engaged, or some such. That's pretty close. If I butchered it, correct me.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
So, and you've touched on this. So we've talked a little bit about why you feel that's important to your mission. So why is self-promotion a good strategy for your business?
Well, I think there's a couple of ways of looking at it, because like when you hear self-promotion, people think of this arrogant snake oil salesman, or this person who is just pounding things in your head about how great they are and how much you should buy their stuff. And it could be misconstrued as, and it also could be in the delivery of, hey, it's all about me. So for me, self-promotion is about me, but it's really about you. It's about them. It's about sharing my experiences with people who know, like, and trust me. And it's my responsibility to, as a leader and as a mentor and as a coach, not just for myself, but also for my children, for my family, for people in my community, people in my church, people who know, like, and trust me throughout social media and in real life, that here are the things that I've learned, and I want to share them with you. And as Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. People who know my why will get that message. And for me, self-promotion is all about demonstrating leadership, mentorship, and being a coach, and sharing all of my experiences so I can empower you so you can make all the choices that you always wanted to make about yourself. So when you peel the onion back and you think about, like, sort of what my message is that you have all the answers that are inside you already. I'm just here to be that mirror to show you, hey, you have this. Just look at it this way, because everything's already inside. It just needs to be turned on. So your house, your brain is like a very, very big house, and you live like you live in a studio apartment or in a closet. You're going to realize you have these master bedrooms with these wonderful views. And if you just go in the room and flip the light on, you'll be like, wow, I didn't know that existed. But it's always been there. You have a 40,000 square foot mansion already inside your head. Don't think like a 100 square foot bathroom.
Right. Got it. So how do you actively use this every day? Is it strictly something that you focus for your entrepreneurial lane, as you call it, in your life? how do you use this in your corporate environment? Because I'm going to have, the listeners of this podcast are going to be corporate and solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. So how would you give me an example, how would you use that each day in those lanes of your life?
So I think the best way to answer that is to follow me on Snapchat, because I tell my story throughout my entire day, and it really touches on the corporate. I drive pretty fast in the corporate lane, pretty fast in the personal development space, and then I drive pretty fast in the middle lane. They say the left lane's always the passing lane.
Yeah,
well, I'm pretty fast in all three lanes. So for the listeners in the audience that are in corporate America, or trying to make a transition, or looking for some inspiration or empowerment, I state, listen, I work a 9 to 6 job, or whatever my hours are here in my office, and I always find time to think about what do I need to accomplish for today? What's the most important thing I need to get done today? I know I have these reports from my boss. I know I got to get this spreadsheet done. I know I got to send this email out. But what's the most important thing I need to get done today? And you really think about it, you can only really accomplish 1 to 3 major things a day. And right. Corporate America gets that, because you can't just have your to-do list of things to get done. You just have to pick the top 3 things. And I use the term critical versus important, because never replace critical things with important things, because critical is what I call life-changing. So think about one life-changing thing you need to do every day in corporate America. Sit down with your boss and your manager and say, listen, I got 5 or 6 things on my plate. Help me understand how you think I should prioritize my top 1 or 2. And that gives you a thought to sit down with your boss to say, listen, I've thought about this. Here are my thoughts. What do you think?
Right. That's great advice. And I remember doing that back in the day when I was in corporate. Say, here's what I think is most important. Do you want to move any of these things up or down the list? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as you know, one phone call can upset the list. Absolutely.
And one phone call could change everything. It could change the whole trajectory of your day.
Exactly. That can go either good or bad.
That's
and
right.
I love it when I have clients, my coaching clients, share with me the one big phone call, just like the one big thing. You're going to go back to your high school. That had to be a good phone call, right?
I'm completely blown away. That awesome. Changed my whole view on how I want to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I do, so that's really for the corporate lane. They call it the express lane. And the other 2 lanes, whether it be personal development or a mixture of both, is as an entrepreneur, you want to be thinking about, what do I need to do today that's going to engage with my audience? I'm going to add massive value, and I'm going to really make it a deep, intimate impact with them today, as one. And the other is, what can I do to keep the sales funnel filled, to put more activity into my pipeline, and to really sell? I mean, let's be honest, guys. We all want to make money, and we have to make money. And you can't deny the fact that you want to make a boatload of money. I'll quote, Grant Cardone, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I do agree with a lot of things he says. It's just his delivery. I have a little bit of a different perspective on it, is that, listen, we all want to make a boatload of money, and you can't deny it. So as an entrepreneur, you got to think about, how do I make money? And how do I engage with my audience who's going to send my message or share my message across the universe, which can help me make money? It's a feeding machine. How do you self-feed yourself? So
right.
Things you need to think about as an entrepreneur every single day. One is, what can I do to get my message out? How do I get my message out? Who's my audience? Where are they living? How do I engage with them? And then how do I fill my funnel? How do I schedule time to do power networking, to connect with people? And the answer to those 2, Dan, to be quite frank, is really self-promotion. Self-promotion connects the bridge, is the bridge that connects the 2.
Right. Because if people don't know what you do, they don't know how you can help them.
If people don't know what you do, then you don't know what you do, or you're not getting your message out.
Right.
It's like if you don't believe in self-promoting yourself, no one's going to self-promote you. If you don't have the confidence in yourself, no one's going to have the confidence in you.
Right. So if you can't sell it, no one's going to do it for you.
Absolutely.
All right. So that leads to the next question. I think we've touched on this a little earlier. So when does self-promotion go too far? So when do you come across as the used car salesman, the televangelist from the 1980s? When does it go too far, and when do you get uncomfortable? And I asked that question couched with you're an East Coast guy, Anthony, right? You're New Jersey. So I'm a Midwest guy. I'm in Kansas City.
Okay.
We tend, and especially in Missouri, show me, and anybody that comes on really, really, really strong is an automatic hands up, arms length,
Sure.
hold, stop a minute. You're trying to hustle me. So
Right.
tell me what makes you uncomfortable?
Well, two things. Let me just back up half a step, and I want to answer that question directly. But
Okay.
you and I both want the same things. It's all in the delivery, right? So,
Correct.
and you and I come from very similar generations. We actually come from the same generation, and we know that hard pressure, hit you over the head sales approach just doesn't work anymore. It's old school. Actually, I had an experience with I'm getting a custom made suit for my wedding, and the guy I went to literally was trying to sell me like it was 1975. I'm like, sorry, dude, that doesn't work anymore. And he wasn't listening. So just an interesting experience. So I digress. So I think I always use fundamentals. The 80-20 rule always works. 80% of your time, you have to be adding value. And let me just dig a little deeper, because adding value is another one of those empty quotes.
Right. What does that mean to you? Right.
So adding value is, what is the one or two things that I can offer to someone that I believe is of value, and then back it up with an example of how I used it during the day.
Very good.
I think what you'll see is, and you and I, again, we're on social media, and we see all the postings and videos. Out of 100 videos, 99 videos that I see are just quotes from other speakers, quoting other speakers, quoting other speakers, and quoting other speakers. So the message here is, I don't want to hear a Napoleon Hill quote. I don't want to hear a Jim Rohn or a Tony Robbins quote. I want to hear what you feel and how it worked for you. Now, that's not to say that you can't borrow their quote, change it, make it your own, but then you have to present it to someone that it's going to resonate with them because it's from you. It's your personal experience. Like Tony Robbins uses the term live life with passion. I say live life with passion because here's how I live it with passion, and here are the things that I do throughout my day. So the 80-20 rule is literally the answer. And sort of it's the secret sauce to promoting yourself the right way. Promoting yourself the wrong way is here's my website, call me now. You must do this now. This is really important. It's huge. You have to make the choice now. Operators are standing by. Remember that? Operators are standing by, waiting for your credit card. You could become a millionaire in 3 easy payments of $39.99. Right. And it just doesn't work anymore. However, if you flip it over, you can give so much value. You can give everything away, but then you never ask for the business. The goal is to give away as much as you can, so you've earned the trust factor, the know, like, and trust factor. And the only way to determine that is to ask your community, how do you see me? How do I resonate with you? Is my content valuable to you? And if they engage back, then you've earned the right to say, listen, if you're interested, I have an opportunity for you that can take this free value and do X, Y, Z with your life. Right. So the 80-20 rule through self-promotion has always been a way. It works for me. I caution the new entrepreneurs or the millennials that are listening to this podcast that just don't take the 80-20 rule and reverse it. Don't do 20% value and 80% asking. And I know it's exciting. You got to put in the work, Dan. You got to put.
Yeah. And I guess I've heard some experienced speakers in the space kind of ask the question, how can a 25-year-old be a life coach? And I was like, that's a great question. So the 80-20, so who comes to mind that's doing that at a high level right now?
Well, I'm going to call out a few of the popular people, because I think that is notable, because everyone either knows or likes or trusts these particular notables. One is clearly Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy, who's the founder of Success Magazine. Yeah. Darren Hardy puts out what they call the Darren Daily, and I actually receive it on my phone every single day. And he gives out massive, massive value. He doesn't even really ask for anything. It was only until recently I saw him post something, or actually sent an email saying, hey, listen, we're going to do a mastermind class, and this is what it's going to cost. So I think Darren Hardy does a fantastic job. Everybody on the planet that's in the social media space knows Gary Vaynerchuk. I think Gary has done a fantastic job for a long time. I do believe he did make a little bit of a turn and went away from the 80-20 and went more 60-40. I think the promotion of his book did get a little too much on the sales side. But in retrospect, when I back up a little bit and I look at it, he really did a great job of giving all this value away through his daily V shows and his online promotions. But more, again, just giving value to the audience. So I think those are two really good examples. I think Les Brown does a really great job. I think people like Michael Hyatt, people may or may not know Michael Hyatt, does a really great job.
Michael's great.
Michael's good. So if you want to flip the coin over and some that are not doing a very good job of it, they're probably people that you may or may not know. Not that I want to call anybody out, but there's a lot on Facebook. There's a lot on Snapchat, a lot on Twitter. I don't really want to call anybody to task.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one I would say that is that I would probably not. Let me back up. So the person I would mention is Grant Cardone, who in my eyes has been a big sales promoter. He even mentioned and one more on the value would be Lewis Howes, who I think.
Yes, Lewis.
I think Lewis does a great job.
Yep.
And so I watched an interview with Lewis Howe and Grant Cardone, and you can tell that there's a significant difference between the two. And even Grant admitted, he said, my audience is a bunch of angry people. And Lewis said, his audience are happy people. And then, there's an old Italian saying that the fish rots at the head, right? So what happens is that you are a representation of the audience that you represent. So if you come from a very humble background and you're humble about your approach and you're humble about the value you present, that's going to resonate with that audience. Okay. Whereas with Grant has an angrier audience and more like in your face, I want your money audience. So I would put Grant in that latter category. However, and I know you and I talked about this.
I would agree with that. I'm just thinking, and and I think you and I talked about Gary Vee too. Even another Jersey guy, another East Coaster,
sure.
With a little, some rough edges. You have to take the attitude and the language, but even Gary comes from a more give. And, even though he did a lot of ask on his book, I followed him for long enough that I recognize that he had that right to ask, and, until that book.
After 2 years of deploying so much value.
Exactly.
He had the right to ask.
Exactly. Okay. So let's go back to Grant. You were going to make an observation on Grant and his style.
I think Grant, and I admire Grant for who he is, and I admire him because of his age, because he's around the same age as us. I think he's 56 or 57, so he's a bit older. I admire Grant in his maturity of who he is. He really tries hard to, and he does it very, very well. He connects with certain millennials. But I've noticed over the past 6 months or so, and probably more so in the past 60 days since he has been more engaged on Snapchat, that his message has been more humbling. It's been more personalized. It's more intimate. However, Tony Robbins made a really great observation about people is that everyone winds up in their comfort zone. For as much as we want to push people out, we all wind up coming back to our comfort zone. People are like rubber bands, right? You can stretch us so much, but you usually go back to our unstretched self, okay? Right. And I think Grant has been stretched to that intimate space, and maybe as he's gotten older, he's changed a little bit. But he'll contract to his comfort zone, which is beat you over the head, 10x, be a millionaire. And again, I'm not judging Grant. I'm just making an observation. Right. I do like him. I've had the opportunity to meet him in person. I had spoken to him one-on-one, and I do engage with him, probably just as much as anyone else does on Snapchat or on social media. But purely for the purposes of this conversation, I think Grant is a little bit more on the ask side than he is on the give side. And to his success, it works. But from the Anthony Conklin perspective and from where I sit and from what I want to accomplish and the message that Anthony Conklin gives to the community and is all about giving as much value as you can and then asking for that business after you've given massive amounts of value.
Got it. So awesome. All right. Is there? And we're running up against our time here.
Okay.
So let's. Is there anything else on self-promotion that you want to cover that I didn't ask?
I think the message is you have to do more of it. I don't see enough people self-promoting. I see a lot of people promoting, but I don't think they're self-promoting in the right way. They're posting up quotes and they're you see memes everywhere, and I think that's really great. But if you want to grow as an entrepreneur, and you want to grow your business space, and if you want to build deep, intimate connections with people, I think you need to continue to self-promote with the thought and with the goal of adding massive value by giving it your perspective, your personal story. You have to have your story in your self-promotion. So I think for those of you that are struggling with promotion, you're embarrassed or a little uneasy in front of a camera, maybe just put a microphone together and maybe do something on Audible and do an audiobook, or even use Anchor which is another tool to use to promote yourself audibly. But people need to know who you are, and they want to hear your story. So self-promote with the idea of demonstrating yourself as a leader, demonstrating that you do have something of value, and that it does come from you, and that you're giving it to someone. You're actually giving your legacy to someone who they can pass it on to someone else.
Absolutely. Great advice. Okay. So what first steps? So let's change over to anybody that's considering making the transition or the jump from whatever their current job situation is into entrepreneurship. So what first steps would you advise someone if they were starting their business today? What is the most important thing for that person to think about before they make the transition, or Lord help them, give notice, give their 2 weeks notice? What do you think about that?
I think there's two main questions you have to ask yourself. What are you passionate about, and what are you good at? Those are the first two questions you need to ask before you decide about venturing anywhere. So if you know what you're passionate about and you're good at it, then you ask yourself, is there a market for what I do? Find out who is accomplishing, who has amassed massive success in what you're passionate, what you're good at, and model what they do. Find out what they do, and then model it and make it your own. So you got to do your research.
Yeah, so due diligence.
I would definitely, everything in life is, you go and get a mortgage, they do a due diligence, right?
Exactly.
So I would say you have to do the homework. So two things: ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? And then the third thing is find someone, model someone who's been successful, and copy what they do, but make it your own. And then you could start small. Start small by saying, and I don't mean think small, but start small, take baby steps. Let's say you want to become a speaker. So if you want to become a speaker, what do you want to speak about? Who is your audience? Who's been massively successful as a speaker? Listen, if you want to be a motivational speaker, you can't swing a dead cat by the tail and not hit somebody who's a motivational speaker. Your speaking really comes from your story. We talk about Cynthia Basin, who is a fantastic speaker.
Yeah, great friend of mine.
Yeah,
yep.
Cynthia comes from the private investigator background, 25 years in corporate America, and she's all about positive messages coming from her story. Okay, Vicki Fitch, who's a great business coach. She comes from a background of, she's had physical challenges, spent 3 years in a wheelchair. She's bought and sold multiple companies, and she was bullied when she was younger. So that's her story. Me, I come from, 25 years in corporate America. I'm from New York. I do have a New York accent. I do curse every once in a while. I'm passionate about sharing my story to help people make small changes in their life to change the trajectory of their life. That's really what my story is. So know what your story is, and then start speaking with people. Reach out to people. Successful people want to help, but you have to reach out to them. So
that goes back to self-promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is the current project you're working on, or how can we help you right now, whether that's helping promote your next event, signing up for the newsletter, connecting with you on Twitter? What can our audience do to connect and help Anthony J. Conklin right today?
Well, the best way to find me is on, I say this literally today. 2 weeks ago, I would have said, follow me on Facebook. I think the quickest way to find out who I am and experience me live or in person would be on Blab or be on Snapchat. So you can find me at Anthony J. Conklin on Snapchat. To sign up for my newsletter, I do a blog posting probably once or either once a week or once every other week. I'm at anthonyjconklin.com. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Anthony Ace Conklin. I'll say that slower, facebook.com/Anthony Ace Conklin. You can find me there as well.
Yeah, I'll put all this in the show notes too. So
great, thank you.
People will be able to find you.
So the biggest project that I'm working on right now is I'm looking to have the opportunity to speak to more audiences. So I'm very open to coming out to speaking to universities, high schools, young entrepreneur mastermind groups. I'd love to speak to an entrepreneur mastermind group. So if any of the listeners out there have a mastermind group, I'd love to have the opportunity to speak with you and speak with your team, and really get the message out about know, liking, and trusting, about passion, purpose, and why. So that's the biggest project I'm working on right now. I do have some speaking engagements coming up for my renewable energy space. I will be in San Francisco on July 11th through the 14th. So if anybody's from the West Coast that want to connect with me, please reach out and send me a DM on Twitter, or send me a Snapchat, or send me an email. I'm sure Dan, you'll put my email, please.
We'll absolutely do it, and yeah, we'll get that done. So, what is your preferred? Now, you've mentioned several social media channels. What's the one or two most important? That is it Snapchat? Is it Facebook? Is it the website?
It's really Facebook right now. Facebook
Okay.
has sort of been my go-to, and for my audience, my audience really spans from I call them tipping millennials, not full-blown millennials. So tipping millennials, those that are 35, 36 and above.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Xers and baby boomers. So, and Facebook seems to be their predominant space and where they're spending most of their time. I do post on Twitter. I don't have a lot of engagement on Twitter, but my biggest engagement right now is on Facebook and on Snapchat.
Perfect. All right, Anthony, thank you so much for your time today. And folks, again, our Connected Lives, our mission is to connect you with great people. And we have done that today with Anthony Conklin as we talked about self-promotion. So hope everyone has a great day. And Anthony, thanks again for your time today.
Thanks, Dan. Great show.